Good evening, everybody. I'm Eve with The Baby's Booty. Today's video is going to address how to embroider on a shirt. Now, I received a request on one of my YouTube videos explaining how to embroider on a shirt. Stay tuned, and I look forward to going over how to do a t-shirt with you. Doing a t-shirt can be quite simple. It really isn't too much to it, mainly because your prep work is what's going to make all the difference in the world with how nice your design comes out on the t-shirt. One of the first things you need to do, which I've done quite frequently, is check to find out what the best placement is for an embroidery design on a t-shirt. Seven to 9 inches is a good rule of thumb. The only reason why there's such a broad difference in between 7 inches and 2-inch difference is because, of course, shirts comes in all sizes. So, of course, a smaller size shirt would probably closer to the 7-inch spectrum, and extra large, double X large shirt would be closer to the 9-inch spectrum. However, the best rule of thumb, if you're doing this for a customer, is to eyeball it, come up with a good idea and say, hey, exactly where do you feel comfortable with the logo, But for the most part, your breast area right in here, based on the shirt, is going to be about 7 to 9 inches down. Now, what I do is I just take a basic 12-inch ruler, I lay my shirt out, and then I measure. Let's go down here, turn the camera down to the cutting table so that you can see exactly how that works. Now that we're on our cutting table, let's go ahead and get this shirt marked for embroidery. Again, the simplest process is to make sure that your prep work is where it needs to be, because your prep work is what's going to help you have perfect placement and a easy stitch out. So we have our ruler. So 7 to 9 inches. So here's 7, here's 9. One of the things that I tend to do is stay within the 8-inch range. However, depending upon the size of the shirt, this one is a medium. I just finished a small. The small was closer to 7.5 actually. So move that up just a little bit to the very edge of that shirt. And let's see. I'm actually going to stick with 7.5 with this one as well, because it's such a short distance a little bit. So we're going to start at 7.5, but I'm going to draw a line down 7.5 to the 9. Okay, there we have a line here on the shirt. Now, this water soluble marker is a lifesaver. You should invest in these markers. The reason being is a little bit of water and this mark disappears. Your marks with embroidery will help you. Please don't skimp. Please don't skimp on keeping your marks and marking your fabric. Yes, you do want to do a spot test first. Now, with this particular design, it's going to be pretty cool because the center of the design is going to be covered with a bunch of stitches. So most of this mark is actually going to be covered up. And then you want to find the central point between the center of the neck over to the sleeve, right about in the area where your placement is going to be. The tag is generally at the center of the shirt. So let's move it over. And now we're looking at 9 inches. So half of 9 is 4.5. So 4.5 is about right here. And that's not where we made the line. Remember, our line is right here. So I'm going to put a line here, and then we said 4.5. So I'm going to put a line there. Okay. Now go back. Go back to your 7 to 9 inches. measurement, and we want to get this as straight as possible. So you look at your shirt, look at the placement of the ruler, try and make sure that you get it good and straight. And again, we said 7.5. So this time I'm actually going to go to 6.5, 7.5, down to 9. Now this is my grid line here, this longer line, and then this long line here. What this does is gives your embroidery guide a good guideline to follow. So let's pick up the guide, and we remember where we were going to put our design, and this covers our design. For t-shirts, you want to use cutaway stabilizer. You don't want to use tearaway with the t-shirt. The reason for that is because your t-shirt is going to be worn. It's going to be washed. So you want something that's going to hold up. Tearaway is basically there to add, some extra layer of protection, and then you can tear it away after the embroidery stitching is done. However, cutaway remains behind, where tearaway, of course, as we mentioned, is torn off. So you want to be sure to use cutaway in t-shirts. All right. That way your embroidery will have stability for the lifetime of the garment. And here's the stabilizer. Now, stabilizer has a tendency to shift around with fabrics. So I don't use spray adhesive. My needles gum up pretty easily, unfortunately, on the SE400. So what I tend to do is get the glue stick and do a square along the outer edge of the piece of embroidery stabilizer, and I also put a little bit there just to give it something to stick to the shirt. And all this is just simple. Now this is from Dollar Tree, actually. It's just simple school glue, so you don't have to worry about it being permanent. You don't have to worry about, for the most part, it causing any damage to the fabric. Most of the children's glue, school glues, are safe for children, and they wash out generally fairly easily. So of course, on something super delicate like silks or very expensive fabrics, you want to do a test spot or not use it at all. But of course, that is by choice. So I put the stabilizer sticky glue side up centrally, roughly up under the guide marks. Okay, so if I move this shirt and pull it up, you see it's for the most part stuck to it. It's not stuck to it permanently, but it's sticking to it enough to allow me to get this embroidery hoop up under there. I'm going to get this in the general area of my guidelines. Now remember, it's this guideline and then this guideline here. So let's lay that back in place. All right, now I'm just going to do this by feel, simply by feel. No magic trick, no extreme, super secret anything. I'm just laying it in place kind of straight about where the other hoop is, and I'm kind of eyeballing where it is. And now I'm gonna lay this back down, look at it again, and I put it up there a little too high, so I'm gonna lay this, and now I'm gonna feel, because the about right here is where the hoop should be. So I'm going to move this, move it down, and make sure that the stabilizer is up in my hand, and then I'm not sliding the bottom hoop up under. And now I'm feeling okay, so it's about in the right place. See the indentation up here of it going into the hoop? So I know it's about in the right place. So I'm keeping an eye right here, making sure that my lines are lining up. And I'm not sure if you can see. Let me zoom in just a weedle bit. Weedle. And as you see, barely. Look here. That's not lining up, and that should be. So we're going to move the top hoop to make that line up. And again, double checking it, seeing where it goes. Try not to push too hard because you'll get that guide plastic moved out the way. And I'm going to feel again. All right, so see how that pushes that back over. So I know that's not in the right place. So let's adjust. And this is pretty much all it is. It's basically an adjustment. You keep moving the bottom hoop around, filling it around to see if you get to it. Now, of course, I'm sure someone else has their idea of the perfect way to hoop. I don't. I'm just basically doing what I need to do to get that hoop in place. I adjust the shirt a little bit. Try not to tug on t-shirt material too much though, because your t-shirt material, jersey knit, is stretchy, and you don't want it to be stretched while it's in the hoop, but by so much, okay? And then we do also have the glue on the back of the stabilizer to try and help eliminate that a little bit. Now we're checking and we see that this line is off, even though the vertical line is where it needs to be. So this is the part where a lot of people lose patience. You cannot lose patience with your embroidery. You just can't. You have to take your time. Now, of course, I'm struggling a whole lot more because I'm trying to film and there's a camera in my way. But this is basically what I go through to get this shirt hooped for a minimal, without having to buy fancy attachments or laser lights or anything of that magnitude that I'm sure probably is helpful, but I don't need to spend that money and I don't have to. Okay. All right. Camera was in my way. All right. Now I press on it, and for the most part, the lines are lined up where they need to be. So I'm going to take this off, and now I'm going to check the tension of the stabilizer behind it. And a rule of thumb is to hear it sound like a drum. It's not too taut to where it's stretching the jersey knit, but it's also not so loose that it's going to shift around too much, because we did put the glue there. Now, there are instances where you could probably, pull just a little bit to loosen some of the surface slack, but be careful. Now, when I'm pulling this, I'm like barely pulling this, because one of the things I learned early on, especially with these hoops, is if you tug too much, this sucker will pop a loose on you after you done struggled and went through all of that to get this darn thing lined up where it needs to be, and it will make you all kinds of angry. So don't tug too terribly hard, especially like I mentioned before with jersey knit. Jersey knit really doesn't need to be stretched out of place when you're putting this on the machine. So we're still good and taut, because I wasn't pulling the stabilizer. I was pulling a little bit on the shirt just to smooth it out some. Okay, so here we have our center again. We're going to double check, make sure that it's where it was supposed to be, and our lines disappear up under the guidelines. I am at the embroidery machine now. So I have the shirt. This is the t-shirt. It's hooped. I double checked it once I got in here to make sure that I didn't catch any of the back part of this t-shirt in the hoop on the back side anywhere. I always check and make sure by pressing only on this inner hoop. Press just to be sure that it's in there good and solid, because there's nothing worse than to try and put this on the machine, and because the inner hoop isn't seated all the way against the outer hoop, and it pops out on you, so you have to go back to the table and hoop it all over again. No one wants to do that. So what I do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of the neck hole. So notice what it does is it creates this little cave, so to speak, of t-shirt material. Now fold this out and about and out of the way, and we're going to check it on the back as well. So this is what I'm left with, a little cave that I'm going to have to babysit. Nothing wrong with babysitting this embroidery machine, because you don't want to mess up a customer's order. So I'm gonna go ahead and load it on the machine. Alrighty, let's put it on the machine. And again, today I'm using my SE425. This is also the same machine basically as the PE500. I'm checking to make sure that all the rest of this shirt is out from up under the back side of this hoop, because you don't want to wind up embroidering through onto the back side of the shirt and then it's not doing you any good. I'm going to use the automatic threader. And another tip with this machine and that automatic threader, all it takes is a gentle push to get that needle threaded. You don't have to slam it down. That's why this threader breaks on a lot of people, because they're so rough with it. It doesn't take all that, people. All right, now that we have the thread is done, the bobbin is done, the shirt is loaded, it's in the center of the design. I'm reaching around, feeling all around the back side of this hoop. The hoop is not obstructed by any part of the t-shirt. All I feel is hoop when I reach around. Our design is already loaded. I have a new needle in the machine, so let us go ahead and start this design. I still have that shirt stitching, and I wanted to show you the one that I did just before that. It's right here, and this is what it will look like. This is the logo that the customer requested. So embroidering on t-shirts can be quite simple. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. That also allows you easier navigation back to this video if you need a refresher or a pointer. Also, please subscribe to our videos, because we do enjoy making our tutorial videos. We want to help as many people as we can to enjoy the world of embroidery, because it is a lot of fun. If you have any other questions, please just send me a comment. I'll try and get a video made for you as quickly as I possibly can. And until next time, happy embroidering. Click here to subscribe to our channel. Click here to view other videos in our tutorial playlist. And click here for the next video that you should find helpful. Thank you.